Hey, what's going on, Agents for Life? So glad you're here. Welcome to podcast number 274. I'm going to share some thoughts that have been on my heart. And this first, the mic drop thought for the week, comes from a quote, and I'm reading out of a book that I got. I love this new book. This was launched from the Super Bowl. The guy that was reading it on the sidelines and brought it into fame. It's called Inner Excellence. Great book. Anyways, Apple founder Steve Jobs, he said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I have ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." Remembering that I will be dead soon. That was kind of the phrase that really stood out, caught my attention. And we all know Steve Jobs, such a great man that he was, and the surprise of how quickly the news of his health caught our attention. And before we knew it, it just seemed like he went so fast. And so many people, like, I don't know if you've felt this, but I think the older you get, the more you feel life is so precious, and we're on the forefront of that, right? Aren't we talking to people every day about how precious life is? And sometimes we need to take a dose of our own medicine. We're in this business and we kind of flirt with it, and we got one shot at this thing called life. Why not treat every day as precious as possible and just go all in and toward our dreams, toward whatever it is that we want to do in this world? Why do we let fear hold us back? So I love that thought because it's a very sobering way. And I don't, I hope it's not morbid to anybody here, but remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered. That was Steve Jobs, a brilliant mind. So he had an urgency to get stuff done because he had a healthy relationship with his mortality. And I wanted to remind us of that because time is precious, much more precious than money. At the end of your life, you're not going to, be glad you have more money. You're going to be glad you have more time because you can't. That's one of the things you cannot ever buy with money is more time. So do what you can with what you have every single day. Wear yourself out by nighttime and look back on that day and be glad you gave it your all. Let me go in now I'm going to shift gears to the main topic of today. And it's it's really just a simple message of stop avoiding. And I realized as I was reading this book a little bit further on, there was a section that talked about avoiding the challenges. When I think of avoiding, I think of, if you go to a swimming pool and you have a ball, right? And you push it underwater a little bit and you're like, okay, I'm just kidding. But that's what starting to avoid something feels like. It's a little bit of resistance, but it's manageable, right? Push it down a little bit further. You can see where I'm going with this, right? The resistance is stronger, but you can still keep it. Keep going, deeper, deeper. What's eventually going to happen? That ball is going to find its way back to the surface, whether you like it or not. And when it does, it makes a splash, doesn't it? So that's what avoiding our problems is doing to us. And so if you're an agent and you've been avoiding running a lot of appointments or making dials or doing things that scare you, all you're doing is pushing off your learning curve. You're pushing off getting started. You're pushing off going through and getting experience. They say failure is only failure if you don't learn from it. Because if you learn from it, it's not failure, it's a lesson. And lessons are valuable. So in Western society, we look at failure as, a bad thing. But a lot of other parts of the world, they look at failure and they teach us failure as being a good thing because it's data. It's telling you what didn't work, so you know not to do it anymore. That's valuable information. Sometimes we're afraid to try because we're afraid to fail. And so we avoid, you know, the things and we put things off. And so my plea to you today is life is so precious. Stop avoiding the things in this business that are really going to move the needle for you. Okay, let me continue unpacking this idea. So there's this really great analogy of let's see these four horses, and this was in, if you're following on this book, if you happen to have it, it's page 100. I love this Zen Mind book that I don't even try. I want to say the author's name. He talked about how there's these four horses, right? Four different types of horses. The best horses will run slow and then fast and right and left at the driver's will. Okay, the driver just handles the horse and the horse just does his job, right? The next best horse, or the let's see, hold on. Okay, the best horse will run slow and fast, right and left at the driver's will before it sees the shadow of the whip. So it doesn't even have to have the negative consequences of a whip in order to do its job. The second best horse will run as well as the first one, but just before the whip reaches the skin. So the second best horse has a little bit higher degree of tolerance, and it waits till just prior to the consequences kicking in before it moves. The third one will run when it feels the pain of the whip on his body. And the fourth one will run after, and only after, the pain penetrates to the marrow of its bones. Okay, so they got really descriptive really fast. But how much pain do we tolerate before we take action? That's the question I want you to think about. If you're avoiding stuff, you're just pushing the ball deeper, and it doesn't make the ball go away, doesn't make the problem go. It doesn't change the pressure. It just intensifies it, in fact. And until something happens, the ball pops back up. But in real life, if we're avoiding chasing our dreams, or if we're waiting for enough outside pressure to for us to break and finally take action that we know we've been supposed to be taking all along the way. Don't correct my grammar on that. I know it was wrong. But you know what I'm saying, right? If we know we're supposed to be taking action and we're not, okay, number one, life is precious. I want to keep that point at the forefront of our minds. But secondly, it's just a matter of time before something, life either serves up a tremendous lesson with a huge splash, or we just go a different direction. We say, you know what? I'm going to go back to a job, or this can't work, or it's not for me, right? And we feel these the emotions of let's quit. I'm just going to quit, and that's the only way you can fail. Okay, you can only fail if you quit. You cannot fail if you keep going, if you keep trying. And some of the greatest leaders have been through the biggest tribulation, the biggest challenges, right? They've got stories to tell. So if you're going through a story, don't be intimidated by that. Or don't think it's that you're broken or something's wrong. Look at, he talked about Nelson Mandela. He was willing to suffer. He went 27 years in prison and then came out with this heart full of forgiveness, and went on to be one of the world's best leaders and led South Africa out of the apartheid. So, so many great lessons here in this. But let me end with this. If you want to be great, you must pay the price. We're all created for glory, but the path of glory, the path to glory, is blocked by obstacles of let me see if I can say this right. The path to glory is blocked by obstacles of ego, comfort, and pleasure. The challenge is that we all have a body, and that always wants to be comfortable and never wants to get punched in the gut. That's where champions separate themselves. They override their human tendency for comfort, to sleep a little longer, to quit at a reasonable time, knowing that the most important thing they're doing is training their minds and hearts to sacrifice, not to be led around by their feelings, to be relentless in the pursuit of excellence. Ah, man, it's good stuff, right? Good stuff. So, let me see if I can bring all this together. Stop avoiding. There are certain things that are going to move the needle in your business. When you show up in your office every day, guess what? And I fall prey to this, just I'll raise my hand the highest. It's hard, right? Do the tough stuff. Eat that frog. Okay, Brian Tracy. Do the hard things. Those are the things that are going to move the dial. So, in layman's terms, Life insurance 101, right? We're here. We show up in our office. What is the hardest thing? It's going to be dialing. Most people are intimidated by it, the fear that stops us. But yet, dialing is the thing that gets us in front of people. Okay. Getting in front of people is the thing that allows us to potentially make a sale. Making a sale is what allows us to make a commission and get profitable so that we can what? Do it all over again. So do the hard things. At the very least, at the end of the day, you'll feel good about yourself, about pushing aside the comfort, the ego, the body, right? And doing and making yourself do hard things. That's why toughness is one of our core values because it's not always easy, but I can tell you it's worth it. I don't know anywhere else out there that you can come in and do some tough things like this. And in the business model that we have, with the support that we have, with the small investment that it takes to really get going, with the easy barrier of entry of just getting a life insurance license, takes a week or two, right, to get a life insurance license. All these things, and you can have an opportunity like no other in the world. I can only see that here with life insurance. Let's take advantage of it. We are so blessed to have the license we have, to have the team we have, to have the opportunity, the vehicle we have. And yes, it comes with discomfort. And the key is to stop avoiding, stop pushing things off. When you come to your office, are you shuffling papers back and forth and organizing your pens in chronological order, thinking that you're busy because you're doing things and you're quote unquote working, and then you go home and you never really worked, right? So my challenge, if you haven't yet, is even 90 days, maybe that's too long for you, but commit to 1 week. If you're brand new and you're starting out, commit to 1 day of 100% hyper focused work on doing the hard things, and all the procrastination and pushing off and avoiding that you've been doing. Suck it up for just a short period of time and see how much of a difference it makes in your business by embracing the hard things, not being afraid of failure. Again, you might dial a whole bunch of phone numbers and completely flop. But you know what? You're going to learn if you keep doing it. And one day you're not going to completely flop and you're going to be awesome. And you're going to get a lot of experience running appointments and you're going to write a lot of business, just like the top producers do in our company. So there's my thought for the week. And my encouragement is to just simply stop avoiding the hard things and do them, embrace them, know that you are born for bigger and better things, created in the image of God by Him to do great things here on this earth. Believe in yourself, put fear aside, put comfort aside, and do the hard things.